Every one of us is tasked with bringing the world to perfection. This week's Parsha reveals a secret to help us do just that. The Parsha starts with Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, arriving at the camp and praising Hashem for all the good that Hashem did for the Jewish people. Then we get into the events of Mount Sinai. The natural thing to do is to juxtapose these two events and look at what is the relationship between Yitro and the giving of the Torah. But I want to employ my favorite textual device. Let's read the Torah not pausing at the Parsha breaks, but as a single continuous book. Let's look back at the end of last week's Parsha and look at what happened just before we read about Yitro. Well, last week's Parsha ended with the war with Amalek. So rather than juxtaposing Yitro with Sinai, let's juxtapose Yitro with Amalek. So the flow is the splitting of the sea, the war with Amalek, the praise from Yitro, and the revelation at Mount Sinai. What can we learn from this? The splitting of the sea and the revelation at Sinai are the two most awesome events in human history, events that laid bare the reality of Hashem and the unique role of the Jewish people. Others can look at these events and respond in one of two ways. They can respond like Amalek, viewing that awesomeness as a threat to their way of life that needs to be stomped out. Or they can respond like Yitro and praise Hashem and come and learn from the Jewish people. Chaverim, my friends, nothing has changed in the last 3,500 years. The ongoing miracle that is the state of Israel and the horrendous events of October 7th have produced two reactions from the world. On the one hand, you have the Amalek reaction of Hamas and their supporters who view the very existence of the state of Israel and a thriving Jewish people as a threat to their theology and worldview. You have anti-Semites the world over latching on to October 7th to give themselves permission to come out of hiding and proudly express their hatred for the Jewish people and what the Jewish people represent. A story that has repeated itself over and over since we were slaves in Egypt. On the other hand, you see the Yitro reaction of non-Jews the world over who see the reality, recognize the ongoing miracle that is the Jewish people and throw their lot in with us. The non-Jews who bravely stand up and speak truth. People like Douglas Murray, Michael Rappaport, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and countless others following in the path of Yitro. Just as the reaction of Amalek and Yitro happened side by side, so are we seeing in the world right now both the highest level of anti-Semitism in living memory and the largest number of non-Jews inquiring about Judaism. Now, many of you watching this video know that my youngest son graduated from high school 6 months ago and made Aliyah. He's learning at Yeshivat Ashrenu for the year and then will serve as a lone soldier. He recently went with his yeshiva on a March of the Living type of a trip to Poland and through Eastern Europe to forge a connection through the generations with those who lived in Europe before the Shoah and those who perished during it. During the trip, he began referring to the IDF as Mashiach's army, a wonderful sentiment. But I wanted to disagree with him here. And it brings me such joy to be able to disagree with him, not about a silly thing like what time he needs to be home and what constitutes a healthy dinner, but debate on matters of Torah. The IDF is part of Mashiach's army, to be sure, but they are not one and the same. You see, we need the IDF to respond to those who behave like Amalek, those who are threatened by a thriving Jewish people and attack us. Baruch Hashem, we have the IDF to defend us and keep us safe. May Hashem bless the brave fighters of the IDF and bring them a swift and full victory. This fight is a necessary one, but stamping out those who seek to harm us is not enough to bring the world to perfection. But Mashiach's army has a much larger, a much more important job. Their mission is to engage those around the world reacting to October 7th as Yitro did. The Jews the world over who, through no fault of their own, grew up distant from their faith and want to forge a new connection. The non-Jews who want to learn more about Judaism, learn about the reality of Hashem. Engaging with them is how we could bring the world closer to perfection. It takes a very special soul to volunteer as a lone soldier and sign up to fight with the IDF. but every one of us can sign up for Mashiach's army and help bring every Jew closer to their precious heritage, and bring the entire world to recognize the reality of Hashem. Show a friend the beauty of Shabbos. Send them an inspirational Torah video. Invite them to come to shul with you. Help someone in need. You have 613 weapons you could pick from. Pick a mitzvah and get to work. Mashiach's army is actively recruiting. Will you answer their call? And to my son, you will draft into the IDF later this year, and you will proudly wear the IDF uniform. But you are already drafted into Mashiach's army. Wear that uniform just as proudly. That is one thing we can learn from this week's Parashah. How will you step up this week to bring the world a little closer to perfection? Shabbat Shalom and Am Yisrael Chai.